Hey everybody! In this video, I wanted to show you guys how I make one of my wire sculpted chip bead tree pendants. So you can kind of see there, it's covered in cat hair. Oh god! She's like, yes, my work here is done. But yeah, let's get started. Oh, do you like jewelry? So the materials that we're going to be using in this project are 18 and 24 gauge parawire in whatever colors that you want. Here I'm using the silver plated silver as well as the vintage bronze parawire. Both of these are copper core, so they're pretty easy to work with but very durable. Also, I'm using Unakite chip beads. It's pretty like unimportant what gemstone type you're going to be using. This is actually a custom piece for a client, and so they wanted Unakite, so they're getting Unakite. But the main thing to just keep in mind is make sure that the wire fits through the hole in your bead. Beyond that, you can use whatever you want. Now for tools, I have my nylon gel pliers, my round nose pliers, some wire cutters, and I'm going to be using my bent nose pliers, but I'm just using them to like flatten the wire down. So if you want to use chain nose or just whatever you like, this isn't really vital. This is just what I'm using. Also, mini Mjolnir, mini meow meow, my jeweler's hammer. Mine has a brass and nylon, and you can also achieve a lot of the same effects by using like a towel and a regular hammer would replace the nylon side. Not exactly the same effect, but it makes do in a pinch. And then also something round or whatever shape you want your pendant to be. These are three things that I very frequently use for mandrels. This is the size I'm going to be using today. It is approximately 50 millimeters across. Just for science's sake. So let's get started. I'm going to be starting by making the frame of my wire tree. I'm going to be making the bail of my pendant with, you could use a mandrel, you could use, whatever you have on hand. I have the handle of my pliers. And this is just going to be where I thread the necklace through. So I've just wrapped around the handle of my pliers twice, or mandrel or whatever you have, and then I'm going to take it and wrap like this around, let's call it the neck of the pendant. Just like that. And that makes a very nice, large, generous bail, so you can thread it on whatever you like. And then from here, I'm going to be using my thumbnail to make a 90-degree bend in my wire. I'm just working off the spool today, and I'm going to use my mandrel and come around and just shape and follow. And then whenever I get back to the beginning, now here I do think I can go ahead and snip. I'm giving myself about 2.5 inches of tail. Right here you can see I'm holding my wire down and I'm just cinching it and re-wrapping over the neck of my pendant. Just like that. And so now this can slide right off. Just like that. And at this point you could use your nylon jaw pliers and just go through and kind of pinch down on the wire, and this does it gently work hardens it. But what I'm actually going to be doing is laying it on I have a marble cutting board work surface here, and I'm going to be using the nylon side of my hammer. If you're wearing headphones, please be warned, this is kind of loud. So here I go. Now this can kind of distort and warp what you're working with, so go ahead and put it back on the mandrel. And I just use my thumbs to kind of shape and form it down and around. But here we have a much more resilient and durable frame. Now I'm going to go through on the metal side, and this is it before. And this is it after. It gives a little bit of nice texturing, and it really helps it to hold its shape. So there we have that. I'm gonna kind of just tuck these tails up so that they're out of the way, just like that. I'm done with our mandrel, so I'm gonna kind of clear us a little bit more work surface. And now from here, you can use more than what I'm using if you want more extra wire to work with, but really you only need about a foot of wire. But I'm going to give myself a solid maybe 20 inches because I really want to be able to have some excess wire to get kind of fancy and artsy fartsy with. And I'm going to cut myself 5 lengths of this. So once I measure off the first one, I just use that to measure off the others. So there's 2, and there's 3, and this can get kind of messy, so I do kind of recommend little clamps like this or binder clips to just keep all your wire, you know, in the same pile. And they don't have to be perfectly the same length. With it being a tree pendant, you can get as geometric and formal garden style as you would like, or you can be as natural and uneven and very flowy and just, you know, it's replicating something in nature, and everything in nature comes out just a bit different for the most part. So here we are with our wires. I am going to take one out of our bundle, and this one I'm going to find the middle of it. So here I am lining up the ends. There's my middle, and I'm actually going to just hook it over the neck of the pendant, and I'm going to wrap it around the frame, I think twice on each side, just like that. So there's 1, 2, and again, just to keep everything kind of out of the way, I'm going to tuck it up like that. And now I'm going to do another wire. And I'm going to find the middle of it. There's the middle. And this one I'm going to do off to the side. And just working with one end, I'm going to do 4 wraps. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice these are kind of just loose, open, airy wraps. I'm not at all doing like a tight coil. You can if you would like to, but you don't have to. And here's another one, lining up the ends, find in the middle. Oops, there's 1, 2. I'm only going to do 3 wraps on this one, just to show you, you know, there's always room for creative variation. Always, always. So here's another one. And you can also, I'm only doing 5 branches here because the beads that I'm using are pretty bulky, or 5 base wires rather, it's going to make a total of 10 branches, but you could have, I mean, depending on the size of the beads or the size of the final piece that you're working towards, you could have like 30 branches, you know, so again, your creativity is the only limit. Don't think that just it's different from what I'm doing means that it's not correct. It's whatever you want to make. I'm just showing you how I'm going about it. There's lining up the ends, finding the middle, threading that through, doing 4 wraps on this one. 1, 2, 3. And now also I'm going to show you the way I do the wrapping. As opposed to leading with the end and then pulling through, I just bring it down and push with my finger to get it to come to the back side and then pull it through. I find that I'm less likely to encounter some kinks whenever I do it like that. So here you can see we've got this mess of wire coming up off the top. It's all attached to our frame like this. I'm going to start with the first one that I had put on. And I'm going to thread, oh, let's see, I don't know how many beads I want to thread on yet. And again, at this point, you could be as discriminating or freestyle with which beads you pick out. I kind of just pick randomly. And I put 3 beads on that one. Let's see, how many am I going to put on this one? 2, 3, 4, I think, on this one. So I have my beads threaded on, and I'm going to line up where the ends of the beads are. Just kind of keep it nice and tight and smushed. And I'm going to twist like this. 1, 2, 3. Just enough that it's nice and bound off. I'm going to take it and do one more nice deep twist. You don't want it so tight that they're grinding and snapping against each other, because we're going to be doing some tightening down later. But you also don't want it so loose that your beads are flopping. Your beads are flopping everywhere. And I'm going to go through and just keep adding 3 or 4 beads to each branch. You could do just 1 bead per branch if you wanted to show off the wire branching, or you could do a fuller foliage style on the tree canopy, near the tree top. 1, 2, 3. Now, Unakite has a tendency to come in like larger beads, because it really shows off the matrices in the stone. But this is really fun to do with like some of those chip beads that are so tiny that you can't really put them up on a necklace very well. And just bind it off like that. Now I'm doing my 3rd set of branches. They also, sometimes they'll throw in ones that were just kind of imperfect round beads, so that adds in a nice natural variation. 1, 2, 3. Also, this is a very similar concept and technique as what I use whenever I'm doing trees that are like bare branched. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do 5 on this one. So here we have that kind of cinching down. And again, you can just have them turned to where they're pointing outwards. This center one doesn't really do that as much because the bail's in the way, but you can see how that gave us a nice centeredness on the bail. So now I'm going to start up on the other side. Well, that's a nice big leaf. I'm going to use that one. So there's 1 and a medium-sized leaf. 2. Okay, so there's 3. And I'm going to get a little bit more of a close-up here so that if you aren't familiar with what I'm doing, it's kind of like just doing a twist tie. So I have the two branches crossed, and then I'm just twisting it. And you always want to do at least 2 because that stabilizes it. But I'm going to do 4 because these, you know, what we're doing here becomes the branches that you're going to see later on. And on to our last one. This is the fun part, guys. Well, all of it's fun, but I'm really excited because this is where you start to see the tree taking shape and, you know, getting a life of its own and being like, oh, well, this is how this tree is going to come out. 2, 3. It grows 1 bead at a time, and I think that is so cool. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, there we have our 3 beads, and they just cross like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now also, you'll be able to see from here, I'm going to add more length to this center stem. So twist, 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 like that. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more length to all of them. 1. And I come in from the center and twist because that way it gets them twisting around each other evenly, as opposed to if I came out here, like, it's just not as tight. And I like, on my trees, I like tight little branches, but again, you're making your tree, so you do however you want. And then I am going to extend these until they comfortably cross with each other, because, sorry for all the wire scraping noises, because I want them to be able to give us a little bit of wiggle room to sculpt the branches. You'll see what I mean later on. So here we have these come together like that. They join pretty comfortably, and then I'm going to take just the same concept continued and twist them. 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, the wires keep scraping on my tripod, so I apologize if the camera picks up on that. I imagine it is a very unpleasant sound. There's that one. 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we have this. You can kind of cross those ones together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twists. And now we can bring it. I'm done with these, so I'm going to set that off to the side. Ouch! Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to bring this down and around. I'm actually going to open this up a little bit that way, because I don't want the branches to be overcrowded. I'm going to open up this center bit just a little bit more, or extend it rather. So there we have that, and you can see how this one is crossing in, and just like how this branch is crossing in from the top, I'm going to cross this one in from the top because it gives it a cleaner, more natural join. In nature, a plant, if it's sending out tendrils or like spiraling upward in its growth, it tends to all go in the same direction. And so with that, it gives it more of a natural, like, vining, flowing outward kind of tendency. I hope that makes sense. Unless, of course, you're doing you and you want it to go the other way, and in which case, by all means, please go the other way. So here I'm going to add this one in, just like that. And now this one, I've got one branch, one section of wire coming down in the middle, and I'm twisting like this, if that makes sense. And that kind of gets the whole trunk coiled and shaped around together. And so here we have this tree shape going on. I think that's pretty recognizable. You know, most folks would be like, oh, hey, look, that's kind of like a tree. And I like to achieve some sort of branching at the roots as well. And so from here, instead of doing the 5-3-1 effect. I'm actually going to just partition off 2 branches in each direction and start twisting them to get my branches to come out. We're working on roots now, so to get my roots to come out. And I don't bring it all the way. You'll see I just do about that much. Excuse me. And so here we have 2 more roots. And something that's interesting too is whenever you're looking at a tree, if it's a tree that has had an opportunity to grow to its full potential, you know, without like a whole lot of stuff inhibiting its root growth, its root mass is often very similar in size and shape to its leaf mass, you know, within some reason, you know, like some extent for difference and error and stuff. But that's pretty neat though, I think, you know, as above so below kind of stuff. And so I like to reflect that in my trees that I do. And this is something that there are a lot of very talented wire artists who make trees of life and, you know, wire bonsai and different things like that, who are just phenomenal. I feel like there's as many different ways to make wire sculpted trees as there are people to make them. So that's pretty neat, I think. So I'm just going to keep extending this one around a little bit more like that. And you can twist it all the way and then untwist it, and that gives it a really cool kind of root variation. So that's pretty neat. And now from here, I'm just going to start at one side. I'm going to take my wires and I'm going to do a tighter coil down on this side. And I'm just going to do 3 wraps on each root tendril. So there's 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off camera there. I'll be more careful on this one. So here we have 1 little wrap, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to keep going around the edge and doing that. And this also, especially with the contrast of the bronze and silver wire, I feel like it makes it look a little bit more like ground and sky, the contrast between light and dark. And we're just going to keep kind of wrapping around like this. And I'm not speeding through this like on a fast forward because I do want you guys to get a realistic view of how long it takes me. You know, sometimes it takes me, you know, a little longer because I am chattering and I'm dodging. I have this camera set up like right here, and I'm trying to dodge that. So I'm like, I have my arms coming in from around it. So that does kind of impede my natural comfort zone. But I'm doing it for y'all, so. But yeah, anywhere from 3 to 5 wraps. Only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. and it's a beautiful rainy day today. It's December at the time of filming, so it's like kind of warm today. It's like 45 outside, and it's raining, and it's just a very lovely, peaceful day. It's nice to only have to be wearing 2 pairs of pants in the house instead of 3 to stay warm. And there we are. Now from here, this is technically done. I could snip my wire and bind it off and be finished. But I want to get artsy fartsy. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna come in with my round nose pliers and start sculpting the branches. And what I do is I'm gonna come in and hold on one plier nose on each side and just like kind of twist and shape and sculpt the gnarled, twisting branches of the tree. And you can have it be as gnarled or as snaky or just whatever you want. And that adds, I mean, a big difference between that and that. It makes it just, oh, so cool. And that's, oops, sorry, I keep bumping my tripod. This is part of where, too, each one is so different, you know, because my tree is going to look very different from your tree. Or they might look surprisingly similar. Who knows? So I'm going to have it curve this way in the branch. Oh no! So it distorted just a little bit. That's okay. These things happen. You can just shape it with your fingers some. And then you can come in and I'm going to gnarl up the roots a bit. This tree looks kind of windswept. Like, it's had a hard life. It's had to fight against the elements, you know, to keep growing. You know, usually a tree, unbothered, will grow straight and true, just like straight up towards the sunlight, because that's, you know, that's what a plant wants to do. You know, it's the most energy efficient. You know, it's getting to where it's going. You know, and of course there's some natural variance to that, but plants do have a tendency to grow towards the light. But things can get in the way of that, you know, other trees, natural obstacles, wind is a big factor that can shape trees. So here we have now that's a pretty big difference, I do believe, from what we, you know, were at right before we sculpted. And so now I'm going to take my little ends here, and I'm just going to start weaving them through loosely. You know, so we've got that one up there. And I'm going to weave this. And this is just how I like to kind of decorate with my scrap wire. You know, what would otherwise be scrap wire. And you can just keep wrapping around, or you can add in some very nice subtle little twists and spirals. You could add some if you had like some size 11 seed beads. Is that the size? I don't know. They're very, very tiny though. And to stabilize some of my spirals, I'll come through, you know, and make a spiral like that, and then thread back through itself. And then keep going. And that just helps it from getting snagged and pulling off. Oh, God bless Captain America. I'm tired of this tripod, y'all. So but you can see how that's kind of starting to build up and around. And I'm gonna do a spiral in the other direction because I'm a rebel. And again. got that spiral there. And I'm just going to thread up through itself. And, I mean, this is so artsy-fartsy, there's no wrong way of doing it. You know, if you do something that you don't like the way it came out, then, I mean, by all means, redo it, but, you know, it's, you're making something that's a reflection of you here, you know, as an artist. So let it be what it's gonna be. Oh, that's so pretty. I really hope she likes this one. And now, oh, stupid tripod. Okay, so from here, I'm actually going to take 2 of them, of the wires, and sculpt them at the same time, just to see what happens. And I'm going to leave that one right there, and I'm going to backtrack this one over what I had already done. Just like that. Now I kicked it. There's no winning with this thing. I need, like, I don't know. I need to pay more attention to where I'm putting my head, hands, and feet, apparently. So yeah, and I'm just going to continue wrapping around. And I mean, I spend almost as much time on this part as I do making the actual tree. But for some of y'all folks who enjoy going to like Hobby Lobby and Michael's, they have actually started carrying very basic wire wrapped gemstone tree pendants just for like resale. Like, you know, anybody could go in and buy one and be like, oh yeah, I made this. And so there's been some debate about it undermining the market and stuff, but I feel like, you know, the market, like, you can get, you know, this very inexpensive, pretty cheaply made wire sculpted tree from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or you could pay, you know, anywhere from 15 to, you know, typically 30, but like sometimes far more expensive than that from a, you know, jewelry artist. And a lot of folks were like, you know, they're hurting my business, and it's, you know, the very valid complaints and fears. But all we can do is roll with the punches, and I'm taking them carrying a low-grade product that's in competition with what I produce, and using that as an opportunity to, you know, step up my game, show off a bit, be like, no, well, yeah, you could get a tree that looks like that, or you could get a tree that looks like this, that was lovingly hand sculpted, that has a piece of meat in it. Well, not like figuratively, or literally, but figuratively. You know, it's like, this is a chunk of my life that this person is getting, you know, that I'm sharing with you. Meow. Sorry, I'm not just meowing out of nowhere. I don't know if the camera picked up on it, but my cat was meowing. Sorry, random meow. But yeah, so it's an opportunity to rise above the capitalistic need to make money on our art, and to be like, you know, quality. So let me know what y'all think of that, because sometimes talking about stuff like that can be opening a bag of worms and being like, oh, blah, 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 and just, I mean, people will come out of the woodworks to argue one point or another, and so long as we keep it civil, I'd love to get one of those arguments going on here, or let's call it a discussion, you know, hopefully it doesn't degenerate into an argument, but get some varied viewpoints, you know, out here. Like, I'm always interested to experience someone else's perspective. Okay, so I've wrapped all of my wires off like this. They're kind of radiating outward. And I'm going to start snipping and clipping to where I have maybe just a centimeter left. I save all of my little scrap pieces because you never know when you might need just that much wire. Whether it's for binding other wires together to hold them in place temporarily, or if you want to melt them down in the future or recycle them, or, you know, who knows. but it's always better, I think, to not throw them away. But I am also a hoarder, so I can come up with a good excuse for keeping just about anything crafty related, like old newspapers and stuff. Oh, I could use that for packing material, you know, or composting, or, you know, just So now from here, I have all of my little tails trimmed down, and I'm going to be going through, well, that's ultra pokey, with my round nose pliers, and I'm going to just start making some spirals. Now, on these 18 gauge silver pieces, I'm going to go through and use them as some bail decoration, you know, for where the necklace or cord is going to be stringing through. You know, just a nice little spiral up at the top. I figure since it's such a spirally tree, why not have some spirals going on the bail? And also, I don't know about other folks, but whenever I wear pendants, they have a tendency to flip over, so I try to make it pretty on the front and the back. And then what I'm going to be doing here is doing that same thing, making a bunch of little cute decorative spirals that I'm going to tuck in along with the leaves and branches of the main part of the pendant. So I'm just kind of tucking that down and around. And you could also just snip it and with the other wires with your round nose, or not round nose, bent nose pliers, sorry. Wires got crossed and words were really hard for a minute there. So yeah, and then I just used my nylon jaw pliers to kind of smush that down, and I test it with my finger. There's no pokey bits, so that's good. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep sculpting these down. And you don't have to keep going the same direction with all of your spirals. You could have them go in different directions. Come here, kitty. She gets lost sometimes. She'll wake up from naps and then walk around the house just kind of softly yowling. Like, Mom, where are you? I'm lost. Where am I? I'm hungry. Will you feed me? Where am I? Kind of going through that same cycle all day. She's so cute though. So that's how it's coming along. Then I'm going to do a couple more spirals. Hey, Miss Kitty. Hey. What's up? Did you wake up a cat? It's hard. It's so hard being a cat, just ask her. She's so cute though, and that's also, she loves playing with wire. So she's like, Mom, are you wire wrapping? Can I eat it? Oh yeah, by the way, in addition to everything else that I embrace as an artist, I am also a crazy cat lady. So I do talk to my cat. Keeps it interesting. I probably am sorely missing the point of most of her conversations and translating poorly, but it hasn't stopped her from talking to me yet. Just meowing, hanging out with me. So there we go. And I'm just using my nylon jaw pliers here to kind of batten everything down. And that is a wire tree. I really hope this video was helpful to y'all. If you have any questions, ideas, or comments, please let me know. I love talking to y'all, so I'll see you around. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around and watching this tutorial with me. I had a lot of fun showing you guys how I enjoy making wire trees. This is just one different way of making them though, so I mean, I hope you all take what I've shown you and build on that. And you know, just feel that slippery slope of addiction that is crafting. But If y'all have any questions, comments, or ideas, please contact me, backtooearthcreations@yahoo.com, or you can send me a message here on YouTube, or you can find me on Facebook, or just whatever makes you happy. It's so hard being a cat. Right, if you'd like to participate in my monthly Home for the Gnomeless giveaway, where it's basically you get a fairy house that I hand sculpted, for just $1 a month, you can become a patron and put your name in the hat to win that one, which is good fun. This is my cat Ember, by the way. She's a sweetie. She's a sweetie, aren't you, girl? I hope y'all have a fantastic day and happy crafting.